Not going.
I don't care.
Are you guys staying in here?
There. No, we're leaving.
Of course not. We're out of here.
Okay, that's perfect, Zach.
Good.
Don't move it anymore. We're out.
Later, Nickies.
Later.
If you guys have problems,
Nikki.
call
Okay. This is Jade Casey for Faces of Taft.
I'm just gonna.
Don't look at the camera.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
on Jade?
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I start over.
This is Jade. I feel weird saying it to you. Okay. So
I am Jade Casey for Faces of Taft.
That's a good one. Okay. I'm interviewing you about the death of your mother. So first off, I would like to ask you, how old were you when she passed?
I was 5. It was 18 days after my 5th birthday.
What day, month, and year was it?
It was February 18th, 2002.
What exactly happened?
Um,
How did she die?
well, she died in a car accident. We were in a car that we were going down. I think it was, I don't remember what highway it was, but we were going down for my sister's. She had a doctor's appointment, and we had driven down there. Everything had gone fine. We were coming back, and that's when it happened.
Who was all in the car with you guys?
It was my grandma Darlene and my grandpa Don on my stepdad's side. My sister Caitlin, my mom, and me.
So how long do you, how much of that memory do you have left? What do you remember exactly?
Pretty much the most vivid parts of it. The crash itself is probably what I remember the most detail about. It's I think what happened after the crash to when I got to the hospital, that's when I think I was in shock and I just kind of forgot all what happened in between. I don't remember getting in the ambulance. I don't remember the ride to the hospital or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember sitting in the hospital after the crash and seeing everyone around me, and I remember being in the car before the crash.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the crash itself and the little parts in between.
So what happened? Did you guys just swerve off the road?
My grandma Darlene, who was driving, she was just talking to my mom, and at one point she kind of turned around and spoke directly to my mom, face to face, not up close or anything, but she just kind of turned around talking to her with her eyes completely off the road. And I don't know, I think she wasn't really watching what she was doing at the wheel, and my mom, the last thing she said was, "Look out for the tree," and it's kind of what happened.
Does your grandma Darlene? So weird because it's Darla.
Yeah.
Does Darla ever
They're not the same person.
It's not Darla?
No, Darlene is my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
Mom.
Never mind. Do you still have contact with them?
My
or
grandpa,
did they pass?
Don passed away in the car accident. He died of a heart attack. And my other grandmother, Darlene, she passed away several years later after the car accident. And, kind of with guilt from everything that happened, she was put into a nursery home. And she passed away on New Year's Day several years ago.
So, do you remember, was it a tree you hit? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was a really big tree.
Do you remember hitting the tree? What do you remember, right after you hit the tree?
Well, I kind of remembered, it kind of all felt like it was in slow motion when it happened. It didn't feel like it was a big, fast impact. It kind of I could see everyone moving really slowly when we hit the tree. When we, it was kind of drove off. My mom said, "Look out for the tree." Darlene had whipped her head around to see it just as we were hitting it. And just kind of it all happened, really slowly, but it also kind of happened all at once. Just everyone just moving. And we were all in our seatbelts, not we weren't, safe or anything, but, my mom died of a broken neck from the seatbelt, just the impact. My sister was in a car seat, and I was just in a seatbelt, and I had a big bruise from it. But my grandma, Darlene, she was okay with a seatbelt, but my grandma died of a heart attack just from the impact.
Do you remember after the crash and when some people were dead in the vehicle, do you remember knowing that your mother was dead, or were you just oh, we're all going to go to the hospital after we had a car crash?
Well, I didn't even know what happened to my grandpa until I was told later, way after the hospital. I didn't know what happened to him. Darlene, she was unconscious from the airbag. My sister, she was crying because she was only 1 year old. My mom, her eyes were closed, and so I thought she was just sleeping. And when the ambulance had arrived, I turned her around, "Mom, wake up, there's help," and everything. And I hadn't known that she was dead.
So have you ever, I mean, besides right now, have you ever felt comfortable openly discussing the crash with anybody, or do you just say, my mother died?
I've never really talked about the details itself of the crash, not like, you know, like how I felt or what I saw or anything like that. It's been more just kind of the basics of there was a crash, you know, my mom and my grandpa died, yeah, I was in the crash, just little things that don't really provoke a lot of memory or emotions from it, kind of just to keep, you know, myself stable. Because I feel like sometimes if I get too in depth, so that just went off, I think.
I think.
Hey Zach, I think the camera died.
Zach.
Is the HD camera working though? I think that's the one that we're going to be recording on. Okay.
We're just going to cut that.
This clicked.
Oh, good. It's probably dead.
Oh, good.
So does that mean we can continue recording on this little booger?
So what?
I think-
Are we moving this?
This one's still recording.
Oh, good.
Good. We're just being awkward the whole.
This one is not dead.
It's not. What does it click?
Thought I just cleared this card yesterday. It says we have 21 seconds of video left. Okay. Where's the other card then? Okay, I'll be right back.
I feel so bad for him.
Why?
You're not a shoe. It's okay.
This isn't even my job, but Barton's just ditching us and not...
I know. This is a little frustrating.
Hey, that one's still recording. Let's say some really bad things about Barton.
Barton, what the hell are you doing?
Barton, where are
You're screwing
you?
up my
Come on,
whole
Barton.
interview.
Barton.
I'm pissed.
Really?
Really, Barton?
Okay, got that all out.
Goldfish should come in and talk about what he'll do in his pants.
Barton's gonna poop his pants. Goldie said that, not me. So.
So next Friday, don't plan on going to Friday school because we're going to that field trip.
Okay.
Which field trip are you guys going to?
We're all taking everybody, like Jade and I will go, and then everybody else, they're interviewers and interviewees. We're like doing a portrait of them, kind of, almost as a senior picture, but it's just like the faces have tapped, and this will be their picture. So it's like Jade is choosing to go where her mother was married, just to represent her and how she lost her mom, and then I don't know what anybody else is doing. But it's just pictures of places that kind of mean something to them, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got 21 seconds left on this one. Choose them wisely.
Are we gonna move the mic to that one then? Or what's
No.
this mic? Are we just gonna take off the mic soon?
Pretty much. Well, except for the last 21 seconds.
Just 21 seconds. So we just stay in here for 21
So
seconds. And
you want 21 seconds?
I don't see the point.
I don't know. Do I just take this
for
off
the-
now?
Yep.
I quit.
Does it make you feel more comfortable with it off, Jade?
I don't mind. Wasn't really bothering me when it was on, so. There you go.
Well,
Barton.
thanks, Barton.
Barton, you can take care of that.
Okay.
So we're just gonna cut that whole freak out. Or we'll just put that in the interview.
Oh my gosh.
Nope, that's going to be the best part of the interview.
Oh, just our little freak out. Barton's gonna poop his pants.
I know. Okay, so I just asked you. What did I just ask you? I asked you, discussing it. What do you remember of your mom before the crash or before her death?
Well, she was only 27 when she passed away. It wasn't even her 28th birthday yet, and I don't know. She was a really great mom. There were times where she wasn't sure kind of what to do as a mother. Like when I would get in little like arguments with her, even as 5 years old, she would we had a staircase and she would pull me up the stairs by my hair.
Oh my gosh!
And that's not the best memory I think of when I think of her, but it's the little things like that you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like probably if my mom had been alive, like right now, it probably wouldn't be something I'd remember. But like those are things that I shared with her, even no matter how violent they were. It wasn't like she was abusive or anything. It was just, I was a light child and my hair was really strong, so it kind of worked out.
There you go.
Another thing I remembered about her was she always put too much mayonnaise on my sandwiches, so I couldn't eat them. Just little things that I remember.
Well, what was your favorite memory of her?
We went to Disneyland once when I was little, and we went on a teacup ride with her. Another one I liked, actually I think this is my favorite. When I was 4, I flew an airplane at the airport down in Newport, and she was in the car, and she was still pregnant with my sister, Caitlin. My grandma was in the back, Darla. And I was flying the airplane, and I got to the point, I couldn't even see over the board. I was just using the instruments. And the pilot with me, he was like, I think you got it down. I'll just let you fly it. And so it was just me using the instruments. And I did the thing where you would just like push it in and pull it out, and just the airplane was going up and down. And my mom was just in the back saying, I'm going to throw up. I'm pregnant, Jade. And that was my favorite memory, I think, with her.
Yeah.
Just because it's a fun memory to look back on.
Well, do you often like reminisce on those memories?
Yeah, I have scrapbooks of just, pictures of me and her sometimes, or just I'll like see pictures of her like for my birthday. You found like her old sophomore yearbook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I'll look back and like I'll see things that she did. Like I don't remember what sport she was on, but I think she was in choir. And I did choir, and so it was just looking back and seeing similarities.
Mhm. So do you like to look at the scrapbooks and the photo albums?
To look back and see her, yeah, it's kind of, it's a side of her that I never really got to know as much, like seeing her own past, not even the past that I shared with her, but like seeing her when like she first came over from Korea, like, or when she was like my age, like her old prom photos and stuff like that, like those little things. It's nice to see like her when she was my age, because I'll never be able to hear those stories firsthand from her.
Yeah.
And so,
What was your mom's job, I guess? What did she do here?
when like as like a career,
Mm-hmm. No.
well, when she, I don't know, when I was living with her, like when I was born, no, when I was living with her, she worked at a Chinese restaurant in Newport called Kaming's for a while. But at some point it just got really weird, and so she quit. And then she worked at the News Times for a while, and then she just kind of was a full-time mom, and my stepdad worked, and and she would just take care of me and Caitlin.
Yeah. Did you and Caitlin live together for a while?
We lived together for a year.
A year?
Yeah.
That's nice.
And then after the car accident, we stayed with my grandmother for about a year. Because David, my stepdad, he couldn't see us because he was just too reminded of, Kim and my mom.
Yeah.
And I doubt it was any easier on my grandma seeing us, because my grandma nowadays, she always calls me Kim sometimes, just because sometimes they'll act so much like she did.
Yeah.
And so I doubt it was easy on either of them to be with us after that.
Well, your grandma, Darla, how was she related to your mom?
Well, she adopted my mom from Korea, and so she was her mom. She was my mom's mom. My grandma, Darla, is my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
But when my mom passed away, she became my mom. So if you want to go into the details, since my grandma adopted my mom and me, my mother and I are sisters by law.
Oh, okay, I see. So did she get into a program where she could adopt
Yeah, she had
women
to.
from Japan?
She had to. Well, not Japan, Korea.
Oh,
but,
Korea, yeah.
But they all look the same. But she had to get into a program. Not necessarily a program, but she had to look into it. She had to find organizations to talk to people about it, and she had to read up on all the responsibilities that would come from adopting a child from another country, especially in a time of like war and stuff. And she couldn't have children of her own. She had diseases, not diseases, but she had problems, and she couldn't give birth to a child, so she took it upon herself to adopt children.
So going back to your mother's death, besides the hospital, I guess, what was your memory, like the first thing you did after you got out of the hospital? What was your first memory without your mom?
I think the memory that sticks out the most is probably her funeral. There was a funeral held at Newport, at the cemetery up there. I just remember, everyone being there, and I didn't really know anyone there. It was, there were people who had known my mom, even people who had known her when she was really, really little. Not, from Korea little, but like when, she first came here, people like who hadn't even seen my grandmother for years, but people who were still affected by her death, just people, from all over came to, see her. And I think the biggest memory from that was when I went to the back of my grandma was when she was with the body. They were putting makeup and getting her ready, and I asked to brush my mom's hair, and my grandma was saying, you don't have to. You can just go wait outside if you feel more comfortable. And I kind of insisted. I want to be with my mom. And that, in a way, at that time, that was closure for me because it was a realization that my mom wasn't here anymore. I was kind of trying to move on, but I think even to this day, I still haven't found full closure with my mom's death. Like I think I make lots of jokes just to kind of make it seem like I've accepted it, but in a lot of ways, I only make those jokes to really accept it, like to kind of imprint in my mind that she still really isn't here. Like there are times where like I'll dream that she's still here, and then I'll wake up and she isn't. But back then at that age, that was enough for me to kind of just realize that she wasn't coming home anymore, she wasn't sleeping, she was gone. And so at that age, that was enough for me.
Were you happy when you got to brush your mom's hair?
It wasn't so much like a joy,
Well,
but it was kind of just like, this was a time I got to spend with her. Even though like she wasn't like willfully giving it that time, it was just, it was a moment I could share with her, and it's something I can look back on, even in her death. Like, it was something that I got to do for her. Because even when she had been alive, like, I would brush her hair, and, then we'd switch and she'd brush mine. And so it was kind of like doing that one last time with her. That meant a lot to me.
Well, do you ever, the Lovely Bones, the book, do you ever think that your mom is watching you?
I think so. This is going to sound creepy, especially if you don't believe in ghosts or anything like that. But it was still like a couple months after my mom's death that I was with my grandma, and my grandma and I were playing with a balloon, and at one point I said, I'm going to play with my mom now, and my grandma was kind of just like, what? And she was just sitting on the couch, and she was just sitting there like, okay, you do that, you play with your mom. And I kind of turned around and I just batted the balloon in the air, and it kind of just, it floated like in the air, and then it would just like hit nothing and bounce back to me. Yeah, and I know that sounds crazy, but I was 5, and it might have just been a coincidence, there could have been anything there, just the air, it could have been heated differently, something like that, but it seemed like she was there.
Yeah.
And, that made me happy, just to know that there was a possibility that she was there with me.
Yeah. Well, do you ever, speak to your mom sometimes?
I think, like, sometimes I'll speak to myself about my mom. I know that's I talk to myself, everyone talks to themselves. But, sometimes, like, I'll pray, but it'll be mostly to her, not so much, like, God in general. Like, it'll be like, oh, hey, Mom, how's it going? I joined track today, or,
Yeah.
I remember Michael did track in high school. I'm kind of, following that, and it's kind of like a Facebook status update with my mom.
Yeah. Well, that's good, though. So, what makes you different from other people who've lost their mother?
Well, I think the term of like emotion-wise, like the trauma from it, there's no difference. I think that everyone who loses a parent at any age in their life, it's traumatic, and you've lost someone that you're so close to, it's your own flesh and blood, and it's just, it means everything. But I think something that might set me apart, I'm not saying that one's more important than the other or anything like that, but I know some people who have like lost their mothers or like just their parents in general from like diseases that they've had time to like prepare for. They know they're going to die, and they know what's coming up, and they know they know a certain amount of time that they have left, and so they can go out and experience like last things with them, or they can, do things that they never got to do before just because of that, limited time. And being so young, especially not being able to have a lot of time with my mom in general, and not having any time to know that it was going to happen. Like, I didn't wake up that morning and think, oh, this is my last day with my mom. I think we had plans the next day to go out and do something. Like, those things are just, they all changed in like the few minutes, just everything ended. And just, I think that not knowing that it was going to happen was a big thing. Just the suddenness of it all is something that might set me apart. I'm not saying that, you know, one's bigger than the other or anything like that, because just, I can only imagine what it's like to lose a parent, so.
Yeah.
Especially when I didn't have like a father figure, like it was only my mom, so.
Yeah. Well, can you take me through like your daily life, like who you live with, what occupies your house, I guess, or who does?
Okay, I live with my grandma. It's just me and her, and we live out Rose Lodge, middle of nowhere, and I hate that because I want to live in the city because that's where, you know, I can spend time with people. Living out in the middle of nowhere, and the only way I can talk to people is on the internet, and you get tired of that after a while. Let's see, I have 2 dogs. I have Princess and I have Comet. And Comet's a fat dog and I hate it. It's my mom's dog. Princess is my dog and I've had her since the 4th grade. I have a fish. I have 2 cats. I'm not sure where I want to go with this question.
That's okay.
Just, we just, you know, we live in a house and, I don't know, it's just kind of me and her, and when we have like holidays and stuff, we usually like celebrate Thanksgiving on our own. Like we never make a big meal like most families do because it's, you know, it's a waste of food.
Yeah.
But, you know, like for holidays it's just, it's not so much intense, but it's more like, it's an intimate holiday, like,
Just between the
yeah,
two of
just
you?
us.
Yeah. So does that get you guys closer, you think, just the 2 of you living in the same house?
Well, I think, especially with the fact that it's just me and her, that sometimes we're closer, but sometimes we're far more distant, because it's just me and her, and we don't have anyone else necessarily really to talk to there.
Mhm.
So we tend to just talk to each other, and sometimes we'll have good days, and sometimes we'll have really bad days.
What
and-
sets off the bad days?
Me, usually.
What do you do?
It's not what I do, it's what I don't do. That's what my mom would say.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know, just little things like I won't put the dishes away when she wants them to be put away, or, oh, I left a shoe in the middle of the living room, and there's a lot of room to walk around it. You didn't have to trip over it. Just little things like that.
Well, when you guys are going through like your rough days, is it hard to avoid each other since it's just you 2 in the house?
Usually it has to do with my mom going in her room and me occupying the living room or my bedroom, just kind of just avoiding each other, trying our best to anyway. And then like we'll see each other, like we'll walk by each other and we'll kind of give each other like stink eyes or something.
Oh!
And,
It sounds a little intense, yeah.
but I think a big reason that it usually gets so bad is because we're so similar in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to be right, so when we get like sometimes it's not even an argument, like I'll just, to her, an argument is anytime I say something that's an argument. And so when I'm trying to just, you know, prove my point, like, no mom, I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining my side of it,
Yeah.
she'll just be like, no, you're arguing. And we, you know, when we have talks like that, you know, we always have, one of us has to be right, or, you know, we both want to just be right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, being so similar, it's what makes like, the ramming of the heads so much worse.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing is also that, you know, it's, my mom was similar to me, and I'm similar to my grandma, and so we were just basically all the same person.
Yeah. Well, how do you think people see you as Jade Casey? Your mom died when you were 5, and you were just with your grandma.
When I was younger, I think the worst things that ever been said to me was they called me an orphan. And I think like they didn't necessarily say it in an insulting way. They just kind of like stated it as, oh, are you an orphan kind of thing. And it wasn't so much like, it wasn't like the way they said it, it was just the fact that they said it. You know, like, it was kind of like, is that what people think of me at that age? Like, I'm not an orphan, I just, you know, I lost my mom. And sometimes, you know, I feel like there's people here at the school, like they don't necessarily, not everyone knows what I've gone through, like that I've lost my mom. Like I still have to tell people sometimes, like, it makes me like your mom joke that, oh, I don't really like your mom jokes because, you know, my mom's dead. And then sometimes people, you know, will be like, no, your mom isn't dead, you know, you're joking. And then is that really awkward? No, she kind of actually is dead. She's been, you know, gone since I was 5, and it's just, it makes it really uncomfortable because, you know, being at this age in my life and, you know, with everyone else having kind of like those kind of figures still around, that not everyone assumes those things, and it's not necessarily like I wear it on my sleeve like, oh, you know, I lost my mom or anything like that. It's not really well-known knowledge. It's something I usually share with people who I know really well, or just people who are stupid and make comments that are ignorant and really rude sometimes, and I just have to not necessarily put them in their place, but know, you know, let them know what they're saying and how it's affecting people. You know, because I know people who have lost their moms and they don't necessarily feel the same way about, you know, your mom jokes as I do.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they'll just shake it off, you know, and they won't say anything, but to me it's just like, you know, why would you, no, I think your mom jokes are kind of outdated and necessarily not, just to me, I just don't like them.
Well, hearing that word orphan, did you just feel like, I don't ever want to be called an orphan again? That's not what I am?
No, I feel like orphan is just, the term orphan to me means like given up, like you weren't wanted. And, you know, in a way it made me think, I don't know, I think in a lot of ways I still kind of believe in fate. And so it made me feel like, was my mom taken away for a reason? You know, was she not, like, was I not really supposed to end up living with her? Was she not supposed to be a part of my life for very long? And it kind of made me feel like an orphan sometimes if I think about it that way, like, oh, I wasn't supposed to have, you know, that mom figure or any, like, family, really. And a lot of times that makes me feel really alone. Just the fact of, like, being called an orphan, especially since I don't have any blood family anymore, really. I don't get to see my sister anymore because her stepmom took, like, these procedures to, so, like, you know, my grandma can't see her anymore, you know, making it so that we're just, you know, I'm so ostracized from any family I could possibly have. Not necessarily ostracized, but just separated. And, you know, not I don't feel necessarily like an orphan, I just feel kind of like I don't have a family, you know, so like I was given up or, you know, not wanted, but I feel really alone sometimes, especially since I was adopted into a family where I'm not related to anyone really by blood or anything. Not that blood family means everything, because, you know, I consider most of my friends family because I've changed the definition of family to fit me so I feel more comfortable. But in a lot of ways, I feel like since I'm not related to anyone in the family I'm in, that I'm taking advantage of people. You know, like, you know, these are just strangers, kind of, you know, like, I've known them for all my lives, but, but, you know, they're not related to me, I'm not really family, and, like, they're all related to each other, they're so close, and they all live together and stuff like that, and then it's just me, you know, just this girl who's the daughter of a woman from Korea, and I feel like I don't necessarily always belong, and that kind of makes me feel alone in a lot of ways.
Well, when Caitlin's stepmom took away the rights from you and Darla to not see her anymore, did that make you feel not wanted in Caitlin's life as well?
I think in a lot of ways, Caitlin didn't have the chance to make any attempt of her voice to be obvious. That was a couple years ago, so I was like 14 and she was 10. Like she doesn't have any, and her stepmom was really overbearing in everyone's life there. She kind of told her husband what to do. Like she was just kind of like the head of the house. Because if he wanted anything, you know, he had to kind of go through her. And so no matter what Caitlin would have said, I think it would have gone the way it did because all her stepmom wanted to do was blame us for their problems. And so she just made it so that we couldn't see her anymore. And it didn't make me necessarily feel unwanted from Caitlin's life because I know it didn't come necessarily from Caitlin. It came from her stepmom. And I think the feeling I was feeling the most was just anger. Like, you know, how could someone do that and separate a family? Because that's all the family I have. And I never really want to, like, contact my other half of my family, you know, my dad's side, because just he never made any attempt to contact me when I was younger or be a part of my life then, and so I don't necessarily feel the obligation for him to be a part of my life now. And so, I don't know, little things like that.
Well, so your mom came to America. When did she meet your father?
She was working at the News Times. They were both working there, and I don't know how old she was. I think she was probably 21 because she had me when she was 22. It's 9 months, I guess. So maybe even before she was 21 to build a better connection. But they both were working at the newspaper there, and he was married to another woman, and he had 2 children. And the only positive thing I could take away from it was I was a planned child. She really wanted to have a child, and she chose to have me with him. But I don't know. They just kind of met. I don't know necessarily any of the extremes there, but they met the newspaper and they were close, and maybe a little too close. But after I was born, they kind of, they didn't keep in contact much after that.
Well, did they get married at one point?
Oh no, they were never married. He never left his wife or anything like that. And they stayed together, as far as I know.
So was your mom ever married?
She married my stepdad, Caitlin's dad, David. They married in I want to say late 2001, somewhere in there. So they hadn't even been married a year when she died. And I think that was a big thing for him to lose her, because he wasn't a really sensitive guy. Like, he was kind of just a guy's guy, sports, beer, stuff like that. Just a guy's guy all around. But when my mom died, he cried a lot. And it kind of, it's another side. It's a weird side to see of someone who's so, guarded.
Yeah.
And especially since, he lost his dad at the same time. And mentally, he kind of lost his mom. Because she lost it after the car accident. And she blamed herself for her husband's death and, her daughter-in-law's death. And I think in a lot of ways, he felt alone as well. And I think that's why, he kind of wanted to be alone. And that's why he sent Caitlin to live with me and my family.
Do you ever feel maybe not uncomfortable, but maybe just a little different around Mother's Day or any other holiday really, I guess, without your mom?
I don't necessarily celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day, and I've talked about it with my grandma because, I would like to get her something for Mother's Day, but I don't always feel like she is my mother. She adopted me, and legally she's my mother, and I even have a birth certificate that says she gave birth to me. But that's what happens when people adopt children, because it was like a safety thing, so that, people wouldn't wudn't them or, but I just don't like celebrating Mother's Day because it makes me think too much about it. And especially since isn't it usually in May? I want to say it's in May time. But that's around the time my mom's birthday anyway, and so I usually kind of celebrate what I would celebrate as Mother's Day, kind of on my mom's birthday, so it's more of just her day instead of a Mother's Day in general.
Well, what's your mom's birthday?
Oh, it's May 18th. So
What do you do anything special on that day every year, or is it
I
different?
kind of just spend the day looking at her pictures, or I'll talk to one of her friends about her, and we'll just kind of it's kind of a time for me to learn more about my mom. Stuff I didn't get to know when she was here.
Well, do you have that yearn or that itch to learn more about your mom's past or anything sometimes?
Sometimes there'll be things that I'll wonder if she made the same decisions I made or stuff like that, and I'll ask my grandma things, and she'll tell me as much as she knows. But usually I get the most information from her friends, who are so close to her, and they talk about everything together.
Yeah.
And just it's being on that other side, knowing what I couldn't know if I was just her daughter. It's kind of not knowing her as a mother, but knowing her as a person in general, to learn from her friends.
Well, do you ever do you feel sad or bummed out when you can't find out a piece of information what would my mom do in this situation, or when did my mom have her first kiss, or the things that you don't know about her? Does that kind of drive you off sometimes?
Yeah, I'd say so. There are times where I kind of want to know, like, there's things I don't necessarily always feel comfortable talking with my grandma about, because I'm not saying she's old, but she's a little past her time. she's not quite up to date with everything that's happened nowadays, and I never got to have like that sex talk with my mom or anything like that. Like, I didn't get to have boys are only mean to you because they like you kind of thing, and like in school or anything like that, and it's missing out on those kind of things, because I know a lot of my friends, they had special like memories with their mom when they were older, like when they first joined a sport or a dance team or stuff like that, and I never got to experience that with my mom. And it's just, if I had been able to talk to her about certain things, or just, I kind of wish that she had been around longer, so that I could have had more time to learn about her and possibly learn more about myself later in life.
Well, with your grandma being so out of date, as you said, do you, you come home, you'll tell her maybe a story of what your friends did today or what you did, maybe you'll get in trouble for something. Does it just like blow her mind that kids are doing the things that they're doing today? And do you think like your mom would be more accepting of
Oh, I definitely think my mom would be more
newer
accepting,
things?
because she did some pretty crazy things.
What did she do that was crazy?
I don't know how I'll share this, but I'll share it anyway. I don't know. Sorry, Mom, but well, like my mom, the crazy thing. I know my mom. She was a wild kid in high school. Like not like, but like she she went to parties where like there were illegal drugs and like there was alcohol, and she was fairly young. I mean, she lost her virginity in a bathroom of the place she worked. Like she did some crazy things, and I think she definitely would have been a lot more accepting of things sometimes than my grandma would. And so, because my grandma waited until she was like 25 and was married and everything like that. Like she waited on a lot of things, and I think a lot of that was tradition. Like that was just what she knew back then, and that was what she was brought up to do. And I think my mom probably would be a little more like, not necessarily like hip and cool, know what all the kids are doing these days or anything like that. But I definitely think that she would be more understanding.
Yeah, she wouldn't be as flabbergasted
Yeah.
as Darla is sometimes.
My grandma still uses Internet Explorer, so
Oh, yeah.
that's
bad.
that's how out of date she is. Why are there so many pop-ups?
Do you have certain emotions that are reoccurring in your thoughts of your mom's absence?
I think the biggest one was just kind of like, why did it happen? Like, I think the biggest thing that always kind of makes me angry was, not necessarily angry, but that same day my grandma Darla had offered to drive my mom up there, and I think my mom said, oh no, it'll give me time to bond with David's parents, kind of get that bonding time with them. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, if my grandma had drived, would it have been the same outcome, would my mom still have died? And it's just kind of like, well, if this had happened, would this still have happened? It's just that big what if. And sometimes I wish, well, not sometimes, I always wish it would have gone differently. But, when you kind of think of the what if this had happened, would it have come out even worse? Would I have even died in the car accident? And I think the biggest question is just, why did it have to happen? And, that's something I don't think I'll ever know, and just because maybe I don't want to know. Just, it might be too much.
Sorry, I'm trying to see which ones I have. So, I know you're taking driver's ed. So, does driver's ed make you feel a lot more confident about driving? And, well, I guess I'm trying to ask you, like, as you were younger and you knew that your mom died of a car crash and you were in a really severe one, were you ever afraid? Did you have a fear of driving, really?
When I was really young, I still had to be in cars a lot. And I kind of had to realize that it wasn't the car that had caused the accident. It was, they said the biggest reason for accidents is human error. And, that was the reason for that car accident, and it wasn't like the car that had caused it. There weren't any problems with the car or anything like that. And it wasn't necessarily that I didn't feel safe in a car. It was that necessarily, it's pretty much whenever I get in a car, I think about it. It's kind of like whenever I'm in a car, I think, well, if I die today in this car, did I have a good day? Kind of just like little things, because I don't necessarily think my mom planned on anything like that happening that day, and so I don't think I'd plan on something happening on any day like that. And so, I don't know, it's just driver's ed happening in the 7th grade. The driver's ed teacher, she was Miss Chisholm back then. Miss Avis, we had empty time left in class. We had like 20 minutes left of class or something like that. And we were just watching driver's ed videos that she had, and one of them was just an information thing, and the next one was a car accident. It had all these car accidents happening, and it's basically just to scare the crap out of kids so that they don't get in car accidents. It's to show, how bad it can really be. And I was not expecting all that kind of video to be shown, and it showed a little girl in a car with her mom and her dad, and they had both died, and she was still alive, and it showed her saying, Mom, Dad, wake up, and it was the exact same thing I had said, basically. And I'm just sitting there in class, just bawling quietly, trying to muffle my cries so that I don't draw attention to myself. And later she found out, I don't know who told her, I think it might have been Mr. Borzik, because I talked to him later. But, she talked to me at driver's ed, the first class I went to, and she was there, and she came over and she's like, I never showed those videos in class again for the sake of, repeating history. And it made me, like, it kind of took me back, because, that's 3 years, and the fact that, she still hadn't shown a video, just because of, what happened with me. It just, and it didn't necessarily mean a lot to me. It took me off guard that was still happening. And driver's ed it doesn't make me feel like safe. I've only been to 2 things, but even like the first class, I had to miss like the last 2 hours of it because it was just strictly car accident videos trying to scare the crap out of kids. And so I think maybe in a lot of ways the car accident kind of handicaps me.
It's okay, we have a
Okay.
whole nother
Well, I just
period long.
okay.
I'll wait
To
for
the
a second
following
before I go.
students to the office, please.
But I don't know.
Vincent
I'm just gonna write it down
Worthen,
'cause all these announcements.
Madeline Denny, Kaylee Hickson, Jake Nelson. Thank you.
About that.
Oh, you should ask this question. So,
I know. That's
should I obviously, okay. Actually,
What is it?
it's do you have any special possessions of your mom's?
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So Jade, are you comfortable? I mean, you're obviously comfortable.
Mhm.
You're solid. Do you feel like it's okay if I have to go to
Yeah,
our
it's
room?
okay. I'll be okay.
You're pretty composed about all of it. Yeah.
Is it still recording?
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I'd never heard the whole story either, since you don't talk about it much, but it shows me it's not surprising. You see that strength in you anyway, so it all kind of circles around and makes sense now, the strength that I see and why. One thing that I would say, I know you can't change anything right now with your sister, but she'll be 18 someday soon. So you're not completely alone. You haven't lost that. She's still here. She's, I'm sure her life is wherever the stepmom has her. But there will come a time when you can reconnect. So that's still very tangible. Don't give up on that one. And I think you're amazing. As a mom, I would want my legacy to be in my kid. We give up stuff as moms for our kids to be like these amazing people. Your mom's proud. I guarantee it. Okay, if you need me, I'll be in the art room. Someone can come grab me.
Okay.
Snow, I start crying.
Okay. Is that right? Do you feel like you're making your mom proud?
Sometimes I make decisions I'm not necessarily proud of, and I doubt my mom would be proud of them sometimes too. I don't know. I know that she made a lot of mistakes in her past, and I doubt she'd want me to repeat them. But you know, it's not like she's here to tell me or anything like that. You know, what's right from what's wrong, and I have to kind of make those decisions on my own. And sometimes I'm not smart enough, or I'm just too oblivious to make the right answer, or I'm too ignorant and just don't care. And just, I don't know.
I don't think your mom would be disappointed even in your mistakes, because you know moms are moms.
The last words she said spoke directly to me, or I was just kind of joking with her, and she was tickling me and stuff like that. And I said, I was like, Mom, I love you, and she's like, I love you too, Jade. And in a lot of ways, it makes me feel like I have these expectations. I mean, like, you know, I was 5 years old, and those were just, you know, everyday words. But, you know, that being the last thing she said to me is kind of just like, you know, even though you died, I still want you to love me, and, you know, I still want you to be proud of everything I'm doing, and stuff like that.
Do you think she is though? Do you?
I hope she is.
Yeah. Do you do certain things or make decisions that they kind of just peg you as my mom would want me to do this, or my mom would want me to do this?
There are certain times where I know that she wouldn't want me to do the things I have done. But there are times where, like, you know, I don't necessarily feel like a legitimate push. But, you know, I can kind of think in my mind, you know, she'd be proud of me if I did this. Or, you know, if she were here, you know, she'd be here cheering me on or something like that. Like, she'd be, like, that supporting. She'd be that mom in the crowd, just being my own personal cheerleader. She'd be the mom in Mean Girls doing the dance to make sure I don't forget a step. Like, that'd be my mom.
Yeah. Well, do you have any special possessions of hers or that she gave you that you still hold on to?
I have the dress she wore to her senior prom, and I hemmed it so that it had these really big poofy sleeves, and I hemmed it so that it was a little different, and I wore it to homecoming this year, and that meant a lot to me, you know, being able to wear something that was hers and, you know, be able to use it again. But the most important thing I have of hers is probably her ring. And the thing is, she was actually wearing it in a car accident, and my mom noticed that it was on her, and she took it off. My grandma did. She noticed it was on her, and she took it off, and she saved it in case I ever wanted to wear it someday. And it means the most to me just because, you know, it's something I can wear every day, and it's something that I can look at, and I can think of her, and just kind of remind myself that, oh, you know, a little piece of her is, you know, still here with me.
And do you wear it every day?
I wear it every day, and sometimes when, like, I shower, I'll take it off just because it has a crack in it now, and I don't want it, like, pulling out my hair or anything like that. And then, yeah, I might forget. Sometimes I'll forget to put it back on. And those days usually go the worst, just because I feel panicked, and I feel incredibly alone. Like, I can be by myself in a hallway, but, you know, when I'm wearing this ring, I don't know, I feel more confident or something like that. And then when I'm not wearing it, you know, just things don't feel right, or you know, I feel like I need to have it on because I've worn it, you know, mostly every day for years, and it's like I have like a tan line around where it is, and it's like it has a little waistline on my finger for where it's been for so long, like it curves in. And it's just because, you know, it means so much to me that I don't ever want to take it off. I'm sorry, I probably look disgusting right now.
No, you don't.
I'm just picturing like snot running down my lips.
I think we're almost done.
A little pep talk Susan gave me, and just, she's like, she's like, oh, you know, legacy, your mom, you know, your mom will be proud of us here.
She's so freaking adorable.
I was like, Susan, I hadn't cried this whole time. I was keeping it together. I was just putting on my nervous energy and just.
Yeah. Okay, those are all the questions. Do you want Is there anything you feel like I should be putting into my story of you that we haven't discussed really?
Okay, well, let's see. I'm just gonna make a statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start off.
I feel like I should make eye contact, but I feel like that's really intense, and
Oh, we're also
maybe
supposed to look
not.
at the camera.
I'm sorry, too bad. I won't look. Oh, I don't want to. Okay. But, a statement is that, you know, even though I've lost my mom, especially at such a young age, and I think losing her at such a young age, I kind of grew up quicker and I matured faster, and I grew up at a very young age, and I was more independent, and I had to do a lot by myself. And I think, I'm not saying, oh, you know, that's what led me to be great success today, or anything like that, but I definitely feel like, you know, that helped me become who I am today, you know, kind of having to take and do things myself. I don't necessarily always rely on other people. Is it good to have other people around, you know, that you can depend on if you really need them? Yes, it's nice, but as Ms. Zumhoff says, being a red personality, I like to do things on my own. I like to be the one who can say, you know, I did this, I accomplished this. Not necessarily, oh, I did this and I want all the credit for it. But, you know, when I didn't have my mom there, you know, it kind of pushed me to have to do it on my own. And I think in a lot of ways that's why I'm more comfortable being by myself and being a leader, you know, and being an ASB and stuff like that is a really good way for me to kind of put that energy in a positive field. And I think that, you know, since I don't have a mom around anymore, that I can go home and be like, oh, look, you know, I got an A on this test or anything like that. You know, I don't necessarily focus so much on the little accomplishments like those. I focus more on like things that are going to help me later in life, you know, things that when I die I'll be proud of, and I know that my mom will be proud of the life decisions I've made. So
Do you think like when you're passing away, when you're dying, do you think you're gonna be together with your mom again, maybe? I mean, if there's a heaven or an afterlife, maybe.
someone who's thought about their death multiple times, not in a suicidal way or anything like that, but just someone who's, you know, thought of, you know, if I died, I'd want to die like this. I've kind of always wanted to die old, on a deathbed, with my many children surrounding me, and my deathbed. But I've always kind of, I was picturing a movie way, but I've always kind of wanted to be like, you know, surrounded by my loved ones, and I've always wanted to be kind of like in Les Mis. You probably haven't seen it, but there's a scene where Hugh Jackman's just there, and you know he's going to die, and then all of a sudden Anne Hathaway's character, who died really early in the movie, she just pops up out of nowhere and starts singing. I'm not saying I want to be a musical, but I definitely...
But you prefer...
But I'd prefer it if, you know, we could just be like, we're all in this together, and we could walk off into the light, and we could just wildcats in this... But I definitely, I don't know, like kind of like, I don't necessarily want to be that freak who dies and be like, she's here, and then just, you know, closing my eyes and just, I can see the light or something like that. As I kind of, you know, just, if I died, I'd like to kind of see her one last time and be able to kind of like go peacefully and not kind of like, oh God, you know, where am I going after this? Jesus, take the wheel.
I think that's what we all think, though.
I think a lot of us, I feel like we feel more comfortable knowing that there's a heaven, because that's where, I mean, who wants to go, you know, I'm not going to say it, HE double hockey stick, but, you know, I think we all want to go to heaven just because, you know, that's where good people go.
It's kind of like a thing in our head, like it's a good insurance.
Yeah, it's a motivation to be a good person in life, and it's definitely like, you know, I'm going to go to heaven. I'm going to turn in this paper. I turned in this paper on time. You know what? I'm going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I'd like to go to heaven. Heaven would definitely that'd be my number one choice. I think Hawaii would be second, but I'd want to go to heaven, and I definitely would probably want to walk hand in hand with my mother.
Okay.
And this was Jade Casey for Faces of Taft, signing off.
That's a wrap.
Deuces.
Jade, come here.
I just, me making this awkward joke so I won't cry. So I walk off, we're all in this together.
Wildcats.
Wildcats.
Oh, boy.
Okay, Zach, we're done. What do we do?
Oh my god.